Hello, everyone. It's wonderful to see everybody again. Here we are, just less than a week away from the Higher Self Expo, which is on Saturday in the US. And we're doing our first ever 24-hour broadcast, completely insane, with 36 speakers across the world, with 8 hours in the US and 8 hours in Australia and 8 hours in Europe, with 6 hosts. I mean, this is nuts. I don't even know if anybody has ever done a 24-hour light worker broadcast before. We think we might be the very first to ever do it. I don't know. But this one is not just light workers. What's pretty cool about this one is that our theme is where science meets spirituality. So we have some scientists and some light workers and a good mix of both. And what's really cool about it, I mean, in my opinion, spirituality is just science that science hasn't figured out yet. So we're excited to be able to see where people are and how they've been doing, the scientists out there in their discoveries, to see if they can back up all the claims that we light workers think is real and truly happening. So, and Alexis, you're kind of one of those. So I'm very excited to introduce you to our audience, and we're excited to hear your talk. So if you're done sharing the broadcast, then I would love it if you would go ahead and introduce yourself to our audience.
Yes, and thank you very much. And it's been nice to have a brief conversation with yourself, Zane. And I'm grateful for all the work that you're doing for everybody. And I'm glad to hear that this is going so well so far. And I'm happy to participate in with talking about the spirit and science mashing together. That seems to be happening more so in this generation I would say in a less fear-based way. It's less fearful. It's more excitable. It's a fresher feeling, and I'm grateful to be a part of that and talk about space weather and the psychology of electromagnetic experiences from the sun and from the earth and from the moon and all the other stars that have their days of more relevance than others in our geometry of all of this electromagnetic web we're living in. And that is very scientific, really, to talk about that stuff. And then the impact of that is really a spiritual growth for a lot of people, is to realize that yes, there is this massive web of influence in my life that I can't physically see, but I'm becoming more aware of. I'm able to predict it more. I'm able to work with it more. And I work with people like that on a daily basis who follow my reports and report how they felt, what they predicted would happen, how it actually looked, and how they utilized these changes in our environment for making their lives easier instead of more difficult. And sometimes making your life easier is taking a nap and having an opportunity to be like, hey, like something like this is happening. And, this actually means you can most likely will be tired. And my study, I've dove into this particular chart I'm sitting in front of 100 billion times. And I've watched so many patterns show up through human behavior by watching what frequencies are being stimulated throughout the day and night on Earth with public instruments. So it's interesting. The spiritual side of it is more how you individually respond to these global events, which are in a way like weather, like the rain or the wind, and it is involved. Like weather is a physical thing you see, but what is going on with the cosmic energy from the sun and so on, that is what causes a lot of our weather anyways. So even if you are having crazy weather in your area, that will affect your mood, that will affect your body. You will feel it, and then you're like, oh, it's the rain, you know what I mean? But there's so much more of a story to every rain cloud, even with the cosmic radiation coming into Earth's atmosphere and seeding this experience in a way. And that part's been really fun to study and share. And I've noticed allowed people's minds to open more, to be more globally oriented instead of just maybe patriotic or extremely near, what's the word? Self-absorbed, basically. Like, and it can get that way. People will, even in the spiritual journey, they'll turn inward too much and they will go, it's all about me and I'm the only thing that matters. And it's nice to see that these experiences, these electromagnetic storms, will be a rude awakening to pretty much everyone. Like, it really does cause symptoms that even if you think you're doing an amazing job in your life could crumble all of out of nowhere. But it's happening at the same time as all these millions of people on Earth because, oh, there's a geomagnetic storm or whatever. And
Mhm.
it makes it more of a community experience as well. So I'm enjoying it.
Wow, that's amazing. Okay, yeah, I didn't even know that much about you. This is the fun part. I'm the creator of the thing, right? But I've got all these amazing hosts that are finding you guys. And so it's Geraldine that found you. So I'm enjoying this because I'm getting to learn more about you right now. And what you said, there's like a chart behind you. I've been looking at this crazy blue green thing. What is this? What's going on there?
This is a piece of science basically that uploads every day. It is a Russian website and it uploads the amplitude behind a like 0 to 40 hertz range. And then
Oh,
so you can see like right here horizontally behind me with this green line. How am I doing this? Like
there you
this
go.
particular line, that actual horizontal plane there, that is usually the most potent one that this graph studies, is that particular area, because that is the Schumann resonance of Earth, which it's like a baseline resonance based off of the size of the Earth and the size of our cavity between the surface and the ionosphere. So
Okay,
our Earth makes around a 7.83 hertz humming sound, and
right.
it has its own scale. So it hums here and then it hums here and it hums here. And you can see these
Oh,
background horizontal lines.
yeah.
But then they do crazy things like this. And the humming just gets really loud and specific in certain areas of this particular range. And this range is also in our brainwave range. So
Wow.
this is our delta range, like this kind of spot. And then it goes into theta, and then it goes into alpha, and then it goes into beta, and then it goes into
Hmm.
high beta, and then gamma down here. So this whole chart can basically tell you how your brains are being like tuned on a global scale because of the global instrument you're on versus just your own thoughts every day. So if these get louder than your own thoughts or your own environment, then you're automatically like being pulled, your brains are being pulled into behaving this way, which is cool. So
Wow.
the reports are so fun because I'm like, okay, this looks like delta to theta brainwaves, which is like sleeping to kind of barely awake, kind of, you know, that in between dream state.
Oh, okay, yeah, the
And so,
hypnagogic state.
right. And it's just like, okay, you're kind of like, and a lot of people had the report yesterday was like, hey, I'm tired all day long. What happened? And it's like, well, here's some evidence of that. And I've had that occurrence so many times where
Mhm.
people are like, what's going on? And they can find evidence in this particular scientific instrument here on this website.
How wide? So the width of this
It's time.
is time, right?
Yeah.
And so how wide, how far, how much time are we looking at right now?
I think this one, so this was around yesterday. And then right on my other side, whoop, is
Yeah,
another,
it's
it's
reversed.
another example of what happened last night around 9 p.m. Pacific Standard Time and then into the night. Uh, that happened that was 9 hours long. The one ahead of me, you can even just count it by
I'm
hand.
gonna I'm gonna make myself disappear so that people can really see this.
Bottom, yeah. Okay, well here, I'll move my my 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Around 8, like 8 hours. So it's like a whole waking day for some people. And it was during those day hours yesterday. And then this one is through the night and is still happening. Like I just downloaded this image. This is the most recent data. So again, here it's bunching up in just a specific brainwave range. How do I do this? Ooh, right here. So this is just a specific brainwave range that's now being stimulated instead of all of them, which looks like it's happening here. So it's basically pick your own adventure. It's not. Some of these are stronger than others amplified, but once this chart gets to about 20, an amplitude of 20, it just starts turning white. So there isn't a color to kind of specify higher amplitudes, but we've seen amplitudes come out of this chart of the 7.83, which hangs out around here horizontally, and that's the Earth's resonance. That gets to an amplitude sometimes of, I've seen it go to a 190 with this instrument. And even though these amplitudes are actually pretty small comparatively to like the amplitude of other things in our lives that are making a lot of noise, somehow this smallness still looks very big and has a global impact. And I think it's because it's a part of our global circuitry. It's part of our biological circuitry as humans on Earth. So when there's subtleties in that, we are designed to pick up more on these frequencies than others. Our instrument in this body and this brain here, I guess, and that's the study, has been like, okay, some frequencies matter more than others based off of what instrument you're in, like what you are, how you resonate. So it's important to us, but not as important to my lip gloss. You know what I mean? It's just not.
Right.
There's priorities here, and the environmental factor of it is what I really run with, because that's in psychology a huge factor of your DNA. And when they tried to decode DNA and say, hey, you're diseased, like look at your DNA, here's the diseases, they couldn't find that as easily than they could find by going to your house and being like looking at all the things that you are ingesting and are around. And that is way more of a clue of why you are having some type of disease situation or why your DNA is mutating in an unbeneficial way. So this stuff potentially, though, is evidence of your DNA being benefited or continually informed as well, like our brainwaves and our DNA and everything. And this is just like this background energy movement that I wasn't aware of growing up, but it's happening. And I'm watching the behavior change and be more noticeable to people. This subtlety is no longer as subtle. And that's the spiritual side of it too, is like there's a spiritual awakening happening. These things are not as subtle. We're talking about these concepts that people never even thought about.
Right.
And connecting with them spiritually too. And people are having spiritual awakenings and coming to my content and asking me many more questions than just, how do I read these charts? I've held space for all the conversations, because these moments, especially these ones that blast like this, all the way into your gamma brainwaves. The gamma is like where they have all the Buddhists and the monks and the practice meditators. They try and get to gamma because that opens up their crown. That opens up their infinity. You feel connected to the cosmic puzzle and all of that. That's the gamma brainwaves. And the earth can just turn on your gamma brainwaves without you having to meditate all day, potentially, just by getting hit by a coronal mass ejection of the sun. The Earth's cavity gets really loud and our brainwaves can speed up, and we just, all of a sudden you're having amazing insights and just feel so connected, and things are finally starting to make sense. And then, and then that wave passes. And I've seen that happen with this research too, like really good day, and it's over right at the same time as these waves come in. So sometimes this added energy does give people a boost. It's like you can use it. And then sometimes it makes you lay flat in bed and you're integrating it potentially. You are grounding it in a different way. Your circuitry maybe didn't have the right pathway for that particular boost. And so you had to sleep and ground it out or whatever. But I get both reactions and responses almost every time. I get people who are lethargic and people who are energized.
Oh, I see. It depends on how they integrate it.
I guess so. And it may even have to do with, the study of meridians and astrological biology and all of this fun stuff that I'm sure there's probably other speakers coming to this event to talk about.
Well, where they're located on the world too, you would think would have
Totally.
Yeah.
Yes, that's the fun part too, because a lot of people realizing, hey, I live right next to one of these sites and I'm super tapped into this stuff. It's probably because this stuff is a bit louder there.
Right. Yeah, makes sense. Wow, this is really cool. Okay, so this is going to be essentially what your talk is about.
Yeah.
And you've kind of given a little bit of backstory to you, but give us another minute or two of where, who are you? Who are you, Alexis?
Sure. I am a young woman from Canada. I grew up there. I went to university at the University of Alberta for a psychology degree. I left university, realized I had been put in slave debt basically to go there at an underaged age. And I was like an adult then and was like, what the hell's going on? And I went down all the conspiracy tunnels because I am very much that type of person as well. And I've learned many, many things. I've learned a lot about myself. And this is the one thing that's really stuck with me because of my psychology background too, because this involves brainwave influence and it involves mental, physical, spiritual health and wellness. And it was a niche that I found, at least during my awakening and my mission, feeling this passion to be of service to humanity, because clearly it was broken. And I had been like dragged into it, into a broken system, unaware. And now I'm in it and I'm trying to fix it as an adult and help out. And I'm grateful to do it. I'm doing it in my own weird way and getting to share my backgrounds and concerns about people's health, and now use this new instrument and tool that I'm not the only one using this. I'm not the only one reporting on this, sharing about this. And I genuinely think that the electromagnetic environment of our planet is a heavily monitored and influenced as well. I think we are also physically capable of influencing it. And I think that's been a part of the warfare on Earth potentially since their world wars and stuff like that. Like that's when that science and stuff started coming out, especially the Schumann resonance study was apparently kind of discovered again in like the 20s and 30s. And that's basically all they really give. Like the research I did showed me how much was missing and how vast and how impactful this is with very little context, very little conversation about it that I could find online. And I was shocked and angry that something potentially so inherent to our lived experience is being manipulated, hidden, and not talked about for the whole planet. And I did spend all these thousands of dollars to learn about everything that could possibly control or mess with your mind with psychology. And they didn't tell me this. They didn't even touch it.
Right.
They barely even talked about weather's effect on your brain. Like barely, like it was a joke. And I was just an infuriated youth. That's kind of how it starts. And then spirituality came in at the same time. I had spirituality with me. And that's what really, that fury and spiritual need, like bred this study and this blog. And I use social media to get answers and test my theories as well, because spiritually, I was getting a lot of insights about this in my meditations, in my dreams, that this was important and that I had to do something about it. So I feel like that's very common too. And I've met so many people like us who have just that one thing that really sticks. And they're like, this is what I need to translate into English and give to the world in this era. And that's just my job. And I feel like that was my job. And I've had the conversation so many times and I'm not sick of it. Like I can't seem to stop. I just have been doing it for like 5 years. So I don't know. And I think I'm going to keep going because me physically watching it myself helps me gain trust back, because I've lost faith, a lot of it in science. I've lost faith in the education system. I've lost faith in all of the government approved, released data. So, and I've watched evidence of that while studying this, where they will take data out consistently and hide things. That's only made my argument a little stronger too in the community, and it gets the hype up, but it's the wrong kind of hype for me. I'm like, I want the hype being honest, true, amazing evidence instead of
extracted with a motivation and totally, I get it.
So that's kind of my origin.
That's amazing. Okay, so to finish this up, what is Ascension Diaries and how do people find out more about that?
Well, thank you again for letting me share this venue and avenue with new people. And this is a blog. It's a diary of myself. As a scientist, it's hard to make those statements, like global statements. So I like to come from first person perspective the best I can, which is why it's a diary. You can find it on Facebook. It has a Facebook page, an Instagram page, both around 14,000 likes. But I've been getting censored for years, so those numbers don't really make sense
Right.
for the feedback I'm getting, but whatever.
Mhm.
And then I have a YouTube channel as well, which has been going a long time as well, Ascension Diaries. I have free classes about my entire thesis and all of the corroborating data and science that I put into this understanding, and basically find scientific evidence of the advancement of consciousness on Earth. That's on my YouTube channel. I also and I have a website too. So social media fails.
What I did, I just went to your YouTube channel so that I could put it out for everybody. You just heard yourself talking. Yeah. Sorry about that. But yeah, okay. I just sent the link to the YouTube channel to everybody who's watching right now.
Thank you. And yeah, social media has been a little bit of a B word, but it's okay. Yeah. Because the guidance I've been getting is like, just keep going. Every person matters. And this conversation hasn't stopped. And I'm now moved into other platforms like Instagram, Telegram, YouTube. I think they've been the most supportive. Facebook's really given it to me. Yeah. they're not handing me much. And so we're working on it. But being on my mailing list is the best. So when there is a huge explosive space weather moment, you're getting an email and you can be a part of the conversation if that's something that intrigues you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
All right. Well, what a pleasure, Alexis. We're so looking forward to your talk, which is going to be, let's see, it's on Saturday at 4:15 p.m. Eastern time.
Right.
So that's 1:15 Pacific time. Which time zone are you located in, Alexis?
I'm in Pacific.
Oh, okay, great. All right. Well, then we very much look forward to it. And thank you so much for being here and being a part of the Expo.
Yes, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Yeah. All right. Bye, everyone. We'll see you soon.